Hi guys, and welcome to our second episode of the Fire by Nature and Ewenique Astrid collab. This is Astrid from Ewenique Astrid. I'm Kai from Fire by Nature, and we took 1 pound of the same fiber, and we are going to spin it up and weave it into a final product. Now, there are guidelines.
And if you want more details about the rules and guidelines that we've set for ourselves, check out our last video. We talk about all the basic stuff that we will end up going through this this project. And so today we wanted to discuss something a little bit more about one of the rules, and that is the 2-shaft guideline. So we wanted to discuss all the possibilities in design that you can do with 2 shafts. Now, as you can probably tell, we're not quite there yet. We still have quite a bit of fiber left to go, but we are working that up. So yeah, let's discuss our 2-shaft guideline. So since kite only has 2 shafts, that's why we set the rule. And now we just wanted to explain for other people, if you have 2 shafts, you can do this on a rigid heddle, table looms, all kinds of looms, pretty much any loom that is out there, even pin looms and like the zoom loom, all of that stuff. So Kai, why don't you talk about some things you might end up doing that you could do?
Okay, so there are a lot of fun things you can do with just plain weave. It's not just plain weave. It is a wonderful thing. Though it might seem, and you might look at other people saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't make pretty things because I only have 2 shafts." See, I've done that a lot, but as I have learned, there are a lot of pretty things you can do with it, and there are some really nice things. So one of them is clasped weft. So I will make a video on this, and I will make videos on most of the techniques I explained in this video in the future, and I will make sure to link that once I have those out. So basically, very basic explanation of clasped weft is basically you have a shuttle or shuttle bobbin on the shuttle and you put it on the floor, or it could be a cone or a ball. Basically, you have that on the floor. You weave that in. Then you'll have your main color on your shuttle bobbin. So you weave that, and then when you get to the other side, you're going to pick up that. So you're going to go around that thread that you have on the floor, and then you're going to hold the bobbin so that it doesn't release any more yarn, and you're going to pull it back. And you can do this however many times and however long you want to. It's really fun because you can have, for example, if I have a division of space in 2 cloth, that means that there's going to be 2 parts in the cloth. So for example, on one side of the warp I have red, and the other side I have, for example, yellow. If I want to make it so that there's only red and yellow on 2 separate sides, then I can do clasped weft with a yellow bobbin on the floor, and then use a main red weft, then do clasped weft, and then stop pulling it right in the middle so that it creates 2 sides. Or you could do it vice versa.
And so basically what Kai's explaining is, well, actually you explained it really well, but the process of clasped weft basically means that you link the yarns in the way that Kai just described, and you can line them up at any part of the fabric. There's a lot you can do with clasped weft, and you can change it based upon your warp and all of that. All right, one of the points that I wanted to make on 2 shafts today is log cabin. Some of you may or may not have heard of this technique, But log cabin is when in your warp, you alternate between, it doesn't have to be light and dark. Light and dark is what people typically use. But anyways, two contrasting colors like pink or purple or black and yellow in our cases. And they create this pattern, and then at any time you want to shift that, you add two extra of one of them, and it completely switches the direction of the pattern. And it's a beautiful thing. You can do smaller sections or larger sections, but it's something that I was looking into things last night on two shafts, since those are our guidelines, and I totally forgot about how great log cabin is, and I may end up using it in some sense.
And another thing about that is it is often called stuff like that when you have playing with color, often called color and weave. So basically, you're going to have contrasting colors, and you're going to have them in a warp in certain ways. Now, we can get more in detail on this, but since we have a lot of other things to talk about, you can also go online and you can look up color and weave drafts, weaving drafts. So that is something that's really fun to play around with. And I haven't tried it yet, but I will in the future, and I will definitely film that.
Yeah, me too. I want to try log cabin. It's an incredible technique that uses color and weave. So I think maybe we'll do that as a project in the future. Kai, you want to discuss maybe inlays and those, or supplementary warps or something?
So supplementary warps and stuff like that, and inlaid wefts, my favorite thing to play with. It's used in a lot of cultures around the world, and I am obsessed with doing weaving and spinning the traditional ways. Though I do have some modern things. Well, all of them are modern, but I like to do things, a lot of traditional inspired projects. So basically, inlaid warps or wefts means that you don't have warp for warp. You basically, it can be threaded onto onto another shaft, but obviously we're talking about two shafts right now. Basically what I do is I take just maybe 3 yards or so of lengths of string or yarn, whatever color you want, and then I will thread that through the reed. Then I will thread it not in a heddle eye, but I will thread it through the shafts. So, but even though they're going through the shafts, they're not actually raised when I pull on the little handles or toggles, whatever you want to call them, on my loom. So that'll hang off the back of my loom with weights. And basically, whenever I want to, I will take a pickup stick or stick, really a flat stick that I can turn on its edge, or I use a long stick shuttle, and I'll just put that, I'll pick up the warp threads and I'll flip it on its edge, and then that'll create folds on the top of the surface. Now there are very stylized versions of these, one of them being proving diamonds, which basically I will have another video again. I'll have another video made for all of these again. But basically, at one point, you raise the yarn or warp strings, and then for a long period, you weave however long you want the diamonds to be half. So, and then at one point, you open them up. So you'll open them up a little bit. So you pull the two strings apart, and with your shuttle, you will pull them through down into the warp. You weave a little bit, and then you take the other side or the other string of the pair of two, and you'll bring that down, and that'll open the diamonds. So that's when you're opening it, and then you're going to weave that pick or throw the shuttle, and then you're going to beat, and then what you're going to do is you're going to raise the warp threads again. You're going to weave until you want to. And then to close it, you're just going to pull the threads down into the warp wherever you started. So for example, if I started here, I'm going to open the warp here. Then I'm going to want to close. So if my warps are like this, so they're open, I want to bring them together at the ends. So pull them down. That is basically proving diamonds. Now there are lots of drafts and really cool things you can play around with supplementary warp. They're really fun to play around with because you can play around with all the different floats. You can do all kinds of fun things. That is supplementary warp. And for supplementary weft, basically at any point to create fun designs, you can basically just take yarn and just inlay them into the weft, or you can just even put them in certain sections. You can weave them to make like squiggly lines and whatever you want. That is the supplementary yarn techniques.
All right, thanks for sharing. Okay, so stripes are a great thing for your warp because once they're in your warp, it allows a lot more design possibilities into your weft. I like to put at least one, like I enjoy sometimes putting stripes and things because then even if it's a solid warp, when you get to your weft, it adds quite a few more design possibilities that you can put into your weft. So with stripes in your warp, then you can mimic that in your weft if you wanted and create checks where you just follow the pattern from your warp and repeat it onto your weft, and that will give you checks. You could just weave it with a solid color and then just get solid stripes in your warp. What else you can do? If you have multiple shafts, you can always work it into a plaid. Sometimes, which I know we won't be doing this, but I just want to bring up the point real quick. If you have it threaded 1 to 4, like a straight draw, I believe it's called 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can do plain weave on that. But which I mean, a lot of times when I do plain weave, I don't just do 1, 2, because I don't feel like putting all the heddles on shafts 1 and 2 and moving them around. So I'll even them out onto 4 shafts. Then you can do twills with that. But we won't be doing that. I just wanted to point that out. So you can do all kinds of things with stripes. You can even work all of these possibilities into one warp and one project and use that as a part of your pattern. I just find that stripes give you a lot more design possibilities, and I wanted to.
Another thing I want to mention that if you have a lot of yarn in your stash and just want to use up, stripes are a great option. You can choose colors that match each other or colors that don't even go in the same colorway. You can just use that and use up some of your stash because I like to do mini skeins and stripes are a really fun way to use up all your yarn.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah. So I use stripes quite a bit too for that reason. Let's see. Gradation can be done. All these possibilities, color and weave, stripes, gradation, they can all be done in warp or weft. Gradation, the technique applies the same way for warp and weft. You can come up with any color from any part of the color wheel and take that and work it into your project. The nice thing, since we're dyeing our own fiber, is that, and I don't think we brought this up in the rules, but we can take our colors and we can blend them together in a soft gradation if we wanted to do painted warps or any of that. But we could also take sections of the yarn and do it in different colors and like different shades of our same colors, and then use those in the warp or weft. That's another way to do gradation. There's a lot of ways to do gradation, and frankly, we just have so many more possibilities because we are dyeing our own yarn. that adds a lot of possibilities to what you can do with pretty much any weaving technique. Right, Kai? Yep.
And another thing about dyeing your own stuff is you can also do resist dyed warps or wefts, either way. But basically, resist dyed is kind of like tie-dye. Basically, you're going to want to spread out your warp and make sure it's tensioned so that when you wash your warp, doesn't it like all the, or when you go to weave it, it has some tape that when you wash it after you're done, it shrinks and the pattern is still fine. Basically, you're going to want to stretch it out and you're going to have a certain pattern, or you could just do it random. You're going to tie up and bind tightly some of the warp threads so that it stays white. And after that, you should also tie the ends so that also after you finish dyeing it once, you can also bind other colors so you can dye as many times as you want and have fun colors. And this is something that I think I'm going to do so I can have two stripes of, I can have stripes of yellow and black alternating throughout the cloth.
Yep. And that is typically called indigo, however, or ikat, sorry, but I believe traditional ikat is done with natural dyes, right? I think that.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's similar to ikat, but ikat is properly done with natural dyes. Let's think. I think there's, I mean, like I said, the beauty of using your own white natural fiber to begin with really does allow you to do so much more with your two shaft weaving. You can do speckled yarns, you could do painted warps, and that adds another level to the plain weave. You can do, what else can you do? You can do painted warps, plain speckled warps, variegated yarns where you would dye them as skeins and then in different colors and then make the warp from there. That creates a really beautiful cloth as well. You can do, you can also take solid warps or solid warps with stripes and then work the hand dyed yarns into that as your weft. And we also have the, we set the rules that we can incorporate handspun into any part of this process. And I don't know if I will, but I think Kai, you'll use quite a bit of your own handspun stash too, right? For a good amount?
Maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a lot you can do with your hand dyeing. So yeah, I think now we're just gonna kind of spin a little bit and continue to discuss these topics that we've been talking about. All right. Let's see. Kai's probably made more progress on his spinning than me. I went to weaving camp this week and I've been crazy busy with that I haven't really had much time to spin. So, but I'll spin up quite a bit tonight, I think. So, and I'll note too that for this project, so we have half a kilo, which is around a pound. It's 1.1 pound. But I have 8-ounce bobbins. Now I've found that I can fit a good amount more than 8 ounces on here. But I think I'm going to fill this bobbin pretty much as full as I can. And then the next one, I'll just spin up the rest of the fiber. And then I'll just ply up one of them. My favorite way to ply is to cake up the bobbin and then take both ends and ply it. It's a really easy way that doesn't require, because when you split a bobbin on a lazy Kate, a lot of the times it likes to spin back on itself, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So, but I just like the ease of using a cake. And so I'll probably be doing that.
The other thing when you cake up your yarn too, the advantage of it is that you don't have any leftovers.
That
So
too.
when you're tying it on the lazy Kate, you'll have, if you don't spin around the exact, you could have a lot left on the bobbin or not a lot left on the bobbin. So when you apply it on itself, it'll just end as a loop.
Yeah. And that makes it really easy to just use up all you have. So, and even though this will make plenty bobbins worth, I'm not a fan of having those leftovers because I have, from times that I have done that and used bobbins, I still have the little balls of the leftover yarn kicking around. So,
I like to do with leftover bobbins is I'll chain ply it because that'll use up just one bobbin.
Yeah, I do that quite a bit too. So, but yeah, here's I'll switch it forward so you can see the full bobbin. We're getting there. Kai, is that your second bobbin?
Well, yes, but my other bobbin is a lot smaller. This is a 5-ounce bobbin, so I have can fit 3 more ounces on here than I could on my e-spinner.
Yeah. So Kai has the adorable nano that, but it only holds 2 ounces, and when you're working up this much, you need bobbins, a lot of bobbins that hold quite a bit of fiber. So.
Yeah.
I just had another thought about things you can do on the plain weave. Now, not particularly for this technique, for what we're doing here, because we're doing things more for garments, but you can definitely do warp-faced and weft-faced things for projects where you're aiming for a denser fabric, maybe like placemats or something where you don't want it to be totally drapey, and like there's definitely going to be a difference when you weave between a shawl where you want it to be loose and flowy and have beautiful drape versus a placemat where you want it to be more stable. So you can play around with that, but we're going to aim slightly more open, I think. But since we'll be sewing with it, it'll be probably around the middle there because it needs to be stable when you sew things. But still hang nicely and drape however or whatever you make with it.
Okay, and so that is basically all that we have today. Again, if you want to follow along, all the information, our fiber that we're using will all be linked in the description below. And make sure to be following us both on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I don't have Facebook, Asher does. But yeah, other than that, thank you for joining today, and thank you for coming.
Yep. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.